right now. It's good evening, Sagar. Good evening, everyone. It's good to be back with all of you on Thursday evening with our subject matter expert, Sagar, and to keep learning from him and talking to him about building productivity mindset. So, welcome, Sagar.
Welcome everyone and let's rock.
Wonderful. Great. So jumping into Sagar, I should tell you one thing, Sagar. Building productivity mindset is catching traction. Okay, it's been now 3 weeks. This is the fourth week that we are coming up live, and where we are actually drilling into the details for the second session. Where today the intention is to talk to all our audiences about 5S as an approach. But before I go there, I want to let you know and all the audiences who are listening to us right now know that we've got tremendous response. We've got a lot of feedbacks with regards to the sessions that we are conducting and what all we should include. And we'll try and look at including all of that into the session. So Sagar, a good job, and I think the experience and the perspectives that you're bringing to table is something that is making the audience interested. So we're all eager and looking forward for today's session as well.
Absolutely, Kalpesh. Absolutely. It's going to be fun. And of course, sometimes building productivity mindset and, developing that culture can be boring, but absolutely, we are going to make it fun, interactive, learning. And by the end of the session, all the businesses, MSME, are going to have a productivity mindset and they will drive the autonomous work culture.
Wonderful. I love that line, autonomous work culture. And I think who doesn't want it today, right? It's so crucial and so critical for every business and for every aspect of life. So great. So taking not longer than that, Sagar, before I request you to take us on the journey of 5S as an approach. May I request you to help us summarize the standardization and the points that we actually spoke about standardization in the last week.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Kalpesh, the simplest way is, let's not talk about standardization all alone, but let's talk about, what are the benefits of it? Because we've already covered what standardization is. The benefit here is why standardization, or what will I get if I bring standardization in my organization? And of course, we all love benefits, we all love results. And what more than that? So let's have a recap of what are the benefits. The benefits that you get if you implement standardization are it improves clarity, clarity of work, clarity of communication, clarity of delegation, and clarity of output. It improves and guarantees quality product. Why? Because you don't have to think while you're taking the steps for production. There's a standard set process that you have. Moreover, it will boost employee morale because the employee does not have to invest his energy in thinking what to do, but he can invest in energy on how better I can do. Second, or third, it improves productivity. Why? Because you're not wasting time in thinking what is to be done. You are thinking on creative ways of how fast it can be done, how better it can be done, and how quickly it can be done, which means you're improving your productivity. And all this will result and give you the benefit of more orders, more top line, more bottom line, of course, and improved customer service. So that's the benefit of standardization. If you have missed our session, check it out on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, episode number 3, 23rd August. Standard operating procedures have been explained in detail, and we have explained you why do you need standardization.
Beautiful. And I can't forget the example that you had shared last time, Sagar, on the pocket on the left hand. Now, it is
Yeah.
something that has been taken so much for granted, or even I think the example you shared about the bottling, the
Hmm.
caps on the bottles which have been standardized so many years ago, and that still remains
Yeah.
as a unique product. So I think wonderful,
Absolutely.
and there's a lot more examples and a lot more dwelling into these concepts. So, Sagar, while we talking about building productivity mindset and where we spoke about standardization, and why we're going to be talking about the 5S as an approach, how would you tell us about 5S improving productivity?
Brilliant. So as we talked about standardization and we understood the benefits of standardization, let's continue on that journey of understanding the benefits of 5S. Of course, I know people are excited to know about 5S. Some of them even know 5S. But what are the benefits? Why 5S in the first place? Why do we need to do 5S? The simplest and the easiest benefits are you will reduce wastage. Remember in the first session, we talked about 7 types of waste, Kalpesh, and we just highlighted, that there are 7 types of waste like inventory, movement, waiting time, overproduction, over inventory, and so on. So that helps you to reduce the wastage. The minute you reduce wastage, it improves efficiency. It reduces the space required because if you don't want more things there, if you don't produce more things, if you remove the unwanted things, of course, you're going to see the space. Empty space brings out more things to be done, more storage for the wanted things. Then it also improves maintenance. Why? The more you clean, the more you maintain, the more you keep things open, it will help you in maintenance. Let me give you an example here that you go into a room, which is a storage room in your house. I'm sure everybody has a storage room in the house. Now, unless and until you are able to visibly see what is in the corner, you will not be able to improve it or maintain it. And after 5 years or sometimes during Diwali, we clean up and we say, wow, where was this? I was not aware about this thing. That's amazing. And we enjoy that thing, right? So that's the beauty of it. And the last is we have better committed employees because once you have more space, you have clean room, you have better productivity. Of course, you're going to give them more insights and more increments and other things done, which means you will have better committed employees. And overall, when you have a nice environment, when you have everything so clean, when you have everything so productive, when you have everything so good, what happens? You improve quality and increase your orders. Kalpesh, you're on mute. My
I'm sorry, Sagar. So, absolute brilliant, Sagar. I think what you're saying is perfect. And I can relate to some of the examples which you just mentioned. Not only about the storage rooms or your organizations. There are so many simple examples that keep coming across. And if I may relate to, last time you had spoken to the audience that, okay, please come back and share where you observe 5S in your area or in your life across. And I've had a few observations, a few people who've commented on that observation. So one of the people is come back and spoken about the office drawer, that and the observation was about how it becomes difficult at times to actually find out the thing that you want, whether and it begins with whether do I have it or not have it. The first thing. There was another instance of somebody who wrote in their difficulty in managing their cupboard,
oh,
and where actually they have tried to keep things that they want in the way they want it so that they get the right thing at the right time.
mm-hmm,
And I think one thing which I have observed for my own self is about the way I manage my laptop and my files.
mm-hmm.
It takes effort, but actually putting the right folder or the right file in the right place at times, it actually gives me the kind of benefit that I want. So I just want to share some observations on 5S, which the audience has come back on what you'd asked.
Brilliant. Yeah. So definitely we are going to have amazing examples and the example that people have shared about office drawers or cupboard, or even I have got a few examples and comment in my inbox where people have talked about their entry area, which means when the audit is there, the entry area is completely different with the security and the cleaning area and the the foot mat and everything. And once the audit is done, or once the thing is done, it is back to square one, where things are just moving around, and the mat is still not there, or the mat is there but it's folded, or it's curled, or it's sometimes just pushed to the side. So you're absolutely bang on. And that is why I asked everyone that what are the things that you observe at your workplace, because
Yeah.
5S implementation is exciting, 5S implementation is easy, but sustaining that requires discipline,
Yeah.
requires mindset. And that brings me back to our topic, building productivity mindset. Everything that we are going to talk is about mindset, it's about discipline, it's about culture, which means that if you really want to build 5S in your team, and if you do it in just a methodical way, it's going to change everything. But most of the organizations, I'm sorry to say this, Kalpesh, but 80% of the organizations that I have consulted implement 5S like they're running a race. I don't know with whom, but they implement like they're running a race to get a certificate, to get a medal, and finally to get appreciation from everybody that, whoa, we have implemented 5S. But they forget that it's not about implementation, it's about sustaining that process, building that culture, building that mindset. And today, I'm not only going to talk about what is 5S, but please ensure everybody who is listening to this, today I'm going to talk about how you can build that mindset to sustain it, to stabilize it. And it's not a race for one time, it's not a sprint. I'm going to talk about a long race, a race which is for life. Or rather, I would not call it race, but I would call it that we are trying to build the culture, the mindset of the organization by implementing simple techniques to ensure that the stages, the 5 stages of 5S are nailed and ensured that it goes into the DNA of the employee. And once it's happening, you have built the mindset and you're winning every day.
Wonderful, Sagar. And I think, the only example that comes to my mind, Sagar, when you're saying this, it's like if I am planning to be an athlete, or if I plan to be a cricket star, if as we say, you know, one is about today, my approach, where okay, cricket hai office mein, I can go down and say bat for or bowl for whatever. But if I want to actually be a athlete or a cricket star, what I need is all what you said: sustainability, a discipline, a methodical approach that I need to do to ensure that it is sustainable and something that shapes me to what I need to achieve. So well said, Sagar. I think the explanation of why 5S and what is 5S is done very well. Now tell us, I always say, so why is done, what is done. Now tell us how, and tell us more about each of those 5 S's. And
Okay.
to whatever knowledge I have, correct, Sagar, I think the first one is Seiri, which is the sorting. And so great. So tell us more about Seiri.
Right. So before we jump into all the 5 things, let me just pull something for all the listeners where they can actually get the understanding of what it is. So the list is very simple. I have converted the Japanese words into English, which makes it readable for everybody. And I will just read out the names in Japanese as well as in English and give the brief of it. So the first one is actually known as Seiri, which we can call as sort. Second is Seiton, which is nothing but set in order. The third one is shine, which is also known as in Japanese as Seiso. The standardize is known as Seiketsu, and sustain is known as Shitsuke. Now, forget the Japanese words because we're not Japanese, we are Indians, so we can either use it in Hindi, or if you understand English, this is for you. So sort in Hindi is like, you separate out the wanted and the unwanted. Set in order is more of, putting them in order, labeling them like you have it in your textbooks. Shining is about cleaning, but it's not restricted to housekeeping. So if you think that shining is only housekeeping, you are wrong, and I'm going to break that myth. Standardization, of course, standardization we have discussed earlier, but this standardization is way different, and this standardization is also related to what we have said earlier. But standardization of 5S is done in a different method, and sustainability, of course, performing audits, bringing into the culture, identifying and carrying it on. So now going for the first one, which is sorting. So the sorting, in a way, talks about 6 or 8 steps. Now, the 8 steps that are there in sorting is very, very easy and very, very simple to follow. All you need to do is, the first thing that you need to understand is, sorting is about separating the wanted from the things which are not wanted. And all you have to do is create a team, because it's not possible to do it individually. It's not possible to do it all alone. All you need to do is set up a team who understands 5S, which means you need to give training of, let's say, 4 or 5 people in a department. And if it's a big organization, maybe you need to select 2 people in each department and give them a training. Now give them a training about 5S and then divide them into a team. Now you have to create a red tag. Of course, I'll speak about what is it about the red tag, brief the team about what we are planning to do, what we are planning to, get achieved out of all this, and then set a target for each event. After you've done that, ensure that you take photographs, because Kaizen and continual improvement is all about knowing what was before and knowing what is after. That also acts as a motivational tool for the employee. It also acts as inspirational tool for the employee, because they can show, okay, this was before and this is after. And I'm going to show you examples from the various areas where I have done 5S. Of course, I've picked a few from internet just for the clarity and other things, but we have implemented these things in our shop floor as well. Then is about walking through. What you need to do is highlight what is required and what is not required. Now, when you're doing the highlighting, or when you're actually, trying to find out what is required and what is not required, just answer simple questions. What is the purpose of that material, furniture, tool, etc.? What is the purpose? How frequently it is used? When was the last time it was used? Because you might have the team saying, oh sir, I use it daily. Check. When was the last time it was used? And then who is going to use it? Which means you have to find the purpose, frequency, when was it used last, and who used it. You will get your answers. Based on that, separate them. Separate them of daily use, weekly use, monthly use, annual use. And that way you will ensure that whatever you need daily is at a hand's distance. Whatever you need quarterly, it's at its own place. And whatever you need once in a year is kept somewhere which is safe. But there will be some things which will be obsolete. Now, what happens in most of the organization? People tend to keep everything because it has a value in the outside world. For example, the phones that we use, the phones are discarded, we go and buy a new phone, but the old phone still lies in your drawers. I'm sure all of you would have certain watches in your drawers. I'm sure that there would be certain tools that will be available in your organization kept in maintenance room only because they are expensive. But if they are obsolete, if they are not in use, if the technology is outdated, why are you keeping it? Even our Vastu Sastra or Feng Shui says that you need not keep the things that are not required because they bring negative energy. 5S is no different. It says that remove the unwanted stuff because it is occupying the space which can be actually occupied by something else, or it could be free for you to have a better movement. So this is the first step about sorting. Separate the wanted from unwanted using 4 points. What is the purpose of that thing? What is the frequency of use? Who used it or when was it used last? And who is going to use it? So purpose, frequency, when was it used last? And who is going to use it? Once you have done that, you have identified everything, and whatever you don't need, or sometimes you are confused that will I need this or will I not need? All of us, we use a desktop, and there is a thing called archive, isn't it? We all have emails and we have something which is called as archive. The same way, we have to create an archive in the physical world, which is using a red tag. A red tag will identify what is the material, tool, or the asset, when was it placed in the red tag, who placed it, from where it was placed, and what is the purpose of that instrument. Now, the companies can have a system where they can say, if this red tag instrument is not used for 1 year, we will discard it. Or they can say that if it's not going to be used for 6 months, we will discard it. Depending upon the company, the value, the team's understanding, they will have to take that decision. So, which is very simple to know that you have a red tag, which is like an archive, which you can delete later on when you don't want it. And that way, it will simplify the life of the people who are on the shop floor and ensure that it's nicely done. So now if we talk about certain examples, Kalpesh, let me try and pull some examples. It'll be like this one. Just give me a second and I'll pull it for you.
Sure.
Yeah, I think you can see that.
Yes, very
Yeah,
clearly.
so this is one example which I would love to show to all the audiences, and they can understand how sorting can help them.
Wonderful. So this is excellent, Sagar. And while you gave the examples, some of the examples of the manufacturing industry, and where you are an expert for, if I relate back to the service industry where I come from, uh, this the sorting part I think is very strong, and we had used this in one of our you know so I used to be managing the operations and training quality for a unit where we used to follow up for collections of payments from customers in particular geography for a bank. And an associate at that time used to have 5 different screens that he has to operate from.
Wow.
So one was where you'll get to understand that what is the outstanding amount, what is the total due, when was the last due date, and things like that. The second is the customer service screen, that if the customer is asking for any modification of that data. The third was their Excel sheet, because they had to keep a tab of how many calls they've made and what is the customer response.
Wow.
And the fourth was where they would have to they will see the statement of the customer of what all has he spent on. And it used to be
Okay.
actually 4 different screens that they would have to keep ready before they are ready to take those calls.
Wow.
And one of the things, as a quality team, which we had done, while I was not very conscious about 5S at that moment of time, but we did exactly on the similar line, is which are the screens, what is the purpose of those screens, which one do you need more frequently, and then we use this alt tab, saying which are the 2 screens that you use the most, keep them on alt tab so that you can keep switching between those screens quickly. And the screens that you need only once in a while, keep them as the third and the fourth screen, so that you save those seconds when you are working. Because for us, when we're running the contact center, we used to count time in seconds of how much time an associate was taking to wrap a call after the actual contact was gone. And that wrap time, our focus used to be having that less than 3 seconds, less than 3 seconds of wrapping a call. So I think I'm relating to what you just mentioned, Sagar, and I think that's beautiful. Uh,
Absolutely, Kapish. Yes,
So
Kalpesh.
yeah. So Sagar, so great. So I think the great examples on sorting, great insights of what you mentioned. Uh, tell us more about Seton now.
Yeah, so before we move on, Siton, we have a question from a very dear friend called Santosh Kumar through LinkedIn. He's
Uh-huh.
asking, are there any standards that we can follow to apply sorting and in daily life? And how do we decide which element goes where? Right. So talking about standards, Santosh, yes, we have to follow a certain standards which are also written as Mura, Muri, and Muda, which talks about different types of waste. But at the end, you as an individual, you as an owner would know better than any other standard about the frequency of the use of that element. So remember the four questions that I've told, which I always implement and use with my clients. And in 15 years, they've always given me results. I'll repeat them again for you. The first is, what is the purpose of that thing, tool, material, book, element, anything that you have? What is the purpose of that? What is the frequency of use? When was it last used? Is the checkpoint for the frequency. And last but not the least is, who is going to use it? Because sometimes it's only the sentiments, emotions attached to the value, attached to that thing, we keep it stored. Like in daily life, I'm sure you would have an old watch given from your grandfather or great great grandfather, which is not working, but you will keep it in the cupboard. Why? Emotions are attached to it. It's emotions. I respect them. I don't deny them. But like this, if you have piles and piles and piles and piles and piles of things, imagine your house will become an antique showroom. I'm sure you don't want it. And most of the time it happens, the storage yard or the storage drawer, every time we open it in Diwali, aren't we surprised to find something new in that? Let me show one more example. I think this will definitely answer the question which Santosh has asked. So Santosh, as you can see on the image, right thing at the right place at the right time. Things have been replaced, arranged. It looks much more brighter. It looks cleaner. It's more systematic. And the best part is your efficiency is increased. All because you're seeing good things. Your mindset, your vision is improved. If you want to see one more, this is one more example. Everything on the shop floor was required. Once they implemented 5S, 25% of the things were out and they had more space to move. And that way the employee morale goes up, the safety improves, there are less accidents, because if the person is moving at the side and he scratches something which is just protruding outside, he might get an accident.
Yeah.
So that's about the importance of sorting. And why I am taking so much time on sorting, Kalpesh, is because it's very very important. And the first step, if you are right in sorting the stuff, everything else will be easy for you. But if you're not able to sort things and understand what is wanted and what is unwanted or not wanted, you are not going to achieve the right 5S. So please understand that sorting is methodical, sorting is without emotions, and sorting is being practical in life.
You know, Sagar wonderfully explained, and with good examples that you're showing as photographs. And I want to add one more thing. You related that to what a Vastu Shastra says or what a Feng Shui says. I have a quote right in front of me from Rumi. Okay, and the
Okay.
question to Rumi was, "What is poison?"
Mhm.
And I'm reading verbatim from Rumi's quote that anything which is more than our necessity is poison.
Wow.
And I'm just relating back to the example that you said, that can I just put my hand, to get the thing that I want, and can I get that those seconds, if I multiply that into the number of instances that I have in my day, in my month, and in my year, will actually talk about the time that it saves me and the efficiency and effectiveness that it builds for me.
Bang on, Kalpesh, bang on.
Wonderful. So great. I think Sagar, I think the four things that you mentioned about the purpose, the frequency, and frequency not as an emotional frequency, but frequency with data of when was the last time you used it, and the last is that who is going to use it, because I think that is also
Absolutely.
equally critical and crucial.
Yeah.
So wonderful, Sagar. I think the sorting, I'm clear, and I think now I have more assignments to clean up my drawer on where I'm sitting right now. My study table needs a lot more sorting. uh, can
So
is
send me
it
the pictures of before and after, Kalpesh. And to
I
all the
will.
listeners, send me the before and after of your sorting.
Wonderful. I think that's putting additional pressure on me to make the sorting done, but I will do that, Sagar. I think that's a good put. Great. So Sagar, from sorting, let's move to Seiton and tell us more about Seiton.
Yes. So now when you have understood sorting, Seton becomes very easy. Now, Seton here only talks about, setting things in order, setting them in the right frame, or, arranging them in the right way, which means you have to identify the task in that area. You have to use right labels. You have to ensure that they are placed in the right way, like means, like I told you during the sorting phase, that everything that you require on a daily basis should be at a closer distance. Something that you're going to use at a weekly basis should be at a higher distance. The most important thing here is, let's say if something is very heavy, now you don't want that to be placed very far just because you don't use it every time, or you cannot put it at a very high level just because you're not going to use it daily. But at the same time, you cannot put it right in front of your desk because it's heavy. So you have to think, use your logical mind, and apply it in a way where you put it in a place where it's not too high, not too low, but it's at an easy reachable reach because the thing is heavy. So setting in order requires a logical mindset, and that's exactly where the team will play a very important role. So set in order also requires you to identify. Very simple thing, Kalpesh. I'm sure everybody talks about minimum stock level in an organization. So what we do, let's say we have got 8 drums of the plasticizer that we use. Now the inventory time and calculating everything, what we did was the last 3 drums are marked on a red color thing. Before that is yellow and before that is green. So every time I pick a drum, I know there's a green circle at the bottom and I'm happy. The fourth time when I pick the drum, there's a yellow color at the bottom. And the third drum that I pick will be red in color, which means the last 3 drums, the third drum that I pick from the last will be red in color, which is a fifth drum from the first, if there are 8 drums. Now that indicates to me that, hello, it's a red color, your stocks are down. Now that is implementing 5S into action in also the minimum stock level systems. I'm trying to multiply 2 things or correlate 2 things only to make people understand that 5S is not only a methodology, but it can also help you to build in a system of minimum stock level. So set in order is such an important thing. The next example of setting in order is, let's say if you have a pen and you have a remote control, you identify the place for keeping that, not by just putting stickers. There are some people who will put sellotapes all over the desk and make it messy. Now that is an example of a completely wrong 5S. You don't need to put sellotapes and markers on the desk because you know it's your desk. It's fine. Your phone is going to be there. Don't try to implement the 5S on the shop floor where they put the stickers for the path to walk on your desk to just identify the pen and the remote. That is waste of resources. That is over engineering. That is not required. What you need is a very simple thing. Identify the storage, have the right thing at the right place. So the sentence which I would reiterate for everyone, or I would like to read it right from the literature that I have, is there should be a place for everything and everything should be in its place, right? So right thing, right place at the right time. And I think that explains set in order. To give an example, very simple way to identify that, you have the files in order, you have the drawer in order, the files are color coded. Kalpesh, in my factory, what I've done, I love cars and I'm into automotive. My files have Mercedes, Toyota, Renault, Nissan cars stickers printed on the files, and then I slice them as per the file, which means I have gamified the set in order. What happens every time a colleague wants a file, he'll remove it from there, but next time it's like a puzzle for him. He has to make the car, and they love doing it. So I'm jumping the gun, but this is how I have done the sustainability in my department, that they will gamify it to make the car again. And sometimes the cars are exotic, like I've put Mercedes or Audi TT there, and the SLK, and they would love to complete that car to see how it comes up. And that way, by gamifying the set in order, you are ensuring the sustainability. So the golden nugget for everybody who is listening: gamify the things. Gamification will ensure that people love it. We all are kids in our heart. We all are kids. We love to play games. So, gamify things. Once you gamify, it's going to just be different. Yes, Kalpesh. So over to you.
I think, Sagar, that's a wonderful point that you mentioned. To put things in order, sometimes the whole block becomes that, okay, Bapre, it's too much of task and it's a very heavy thing. No, it is not. You rightly said that the minute you've gamified that, you've made it simple, it actually helps. I can relate that to a stationary drawer that I have. I have those three A4 size servos, which has a total of 12 compartments. All I had to do was once with my 10-year-old daughter, and this is a year back, had to tell her, how do we ensure that we get the right thing at the right time? She took the yellow tags and quickly named A, B, C, and 1, 2, 3, 4. So now she actually talks in the language of, if I want a stapler, and I will say, okay, Swani, where is the stapler? And he answer will be, Papa, go and look at C3. If I ask her where is the pencil, and she will say it's in A1.
Brilliant,
Now
brilliant.
that is something which, and I'm so happy that I'm now learning the actual 5S. I've not learned 5S before, but this is how we've done that, and we've gamified that it makes things easy for us,
Yeah,
and we enjoy doing that.
true.
So
Very
great,
true.
Sagar,
Very
great.
true.
Thank you.
And
Great.
Kalpesh, you just made a statement that you don't know 5S. I'm saying everybody in the world, and I'm being very, very positive. Every single human being in this world knows 5S. Now, you ask me how. Every time we try to, go to the kitchen, and I've given this example on the first time as well. The masala dabba that our mothers have has 5S. I mean, she has not been taught 5S by anybody, but that's a real example of 5S. So all of us know 5S. It's just, going one step further, gamifying it, or giving it fancy names for us to remember. But 5S is inbuilt in every one of us. If we all take the pledge today that we are going to have 5S, I guarantee your efficiency will go 5x right after this session if you start doing the 5S implementation in your life. And I would be happy to have the photographs, happy to see the cleanup setups, sorting, and seeding in place. You're on mute, Kalpesh.
No, so I'm saying I'm going to take this on. I'm going to send you the photograph of my desk of how it is right now and versus, once I've implemented those 4 steps. So, so great, Sagar. With that, I think it's time for us to move into Seiso and
Yep.
talk about the third S. Over to you, Sagar. I think.
Yes, I'm all set, Kalpesh, with the slide again, giving the 8 steps and making easier for the people to, pick it up and follow from there. So I'm not going to talk more about shine because everybody knows what shining is. But you know what, Kalpesh? One thing that always disturbs me when we talk about shine is people take it as housekeeping. Now, that's not only housekeeping. Shining is not a job for a housekeeper. Shining is not a job of your cleaning team. Shining is your responsibility. Now, before I explain what shining means, I would give an example which will ensure that everybody starts following that. Now, let's say you have a machinery in your shop floor. The machinery is not cleaned, and the machinery has things rolling over everywhere. The color is not so clean, and you know it's dirty all over. Would you be able to identify if there is a oil leakage from a very sensitive part? Of course not. So when you follow the principle of third S, which is shine, you will have a spot on machine, and any single drop of a leakage of oil or any other gas or any other liquid, you will be able to identify it immediately. What does it mean? You will be immediately tackling that issue, you will not have breakdown, and your productivity will increase. So that is the importance of shine. It is not housekeeping. So now taking it and explaining it further. So, as I said, it's not only housekeeping, it's a culture, it's a culture of cleaning, it's a psychology. And it also ensures that you have quality product, you do maintenance on time, create certain checklist. So shine is about cleaning everything, maintaining everything, and because you have sorted earlier, the time required to shine the things that you want is reduced. The objective and the purpose is very clear. Because you need those things, you have to keep them clean. Now you have also set them in order, which means whatever you need daily, you're going to use daily and you're going to clean daily. Whatever you don't need daily, which will be quarterly and monthly, they will be all obviously under some kind of a cover, which means you don't have to go and individually clean the equipment, tools, or the material. You just clean the top cover and you're sorted. And that also, you need not do it daily. You can just do it every week whenever you need them, because you're not going to open it daily. It's not going to get dirty daily. So that saves a lot of time, and that builds a mindset of a person to ensure that he is committed. But shining, my friend, requires discipline. Now, how does it come in a way of discipline? For example, if I'm working on a shop floor and every time I have to struggle to find different things, to work out different things, pull things from different areas, it's not set in order, so I have to go and bring things, it is investment of my time. Now imagine if the workplace is properly set in order, unwanted things are not there, I'm going to save time, isn't it? That time that you have saved using 1S and 2S, use that time to shine, which means I'm not telling you to do more work. I'm not telling you to take more efforts. I'm telling you, clean the wanted stuff because you've sorted them. You have already labeled them, which means you don't have to clean everything every day, which means you are only saving time by your increased efficiency, and that time that you have saved, implementing, cleaning, and shining. Now, the example that I gave you about the machine and the leakage, that will only happen when you have shiny stuff, which means, to give you an example, Kalpesh, the workstation that you're seeing on the photograph is a good example of shine. But at the same time, you see the mindset or the impact that it brings on the worker's mind when they see a very good material or when they see a very good clean floor, they are afraid. Now, simple example, I'm not being racist or biased here. We as Indians, when we go outside to UK, US, Canada, Switzerland, Australia, anywhere in the world, do we litter or do we spit? We won't, because we have a fear. Of course, there's a fear, but of course, the second thing is it's clean. And wherever things are clean, you don't intend, or your mindset is not to make it dirty. The same way, for one day, try this out. In your bedroom, don't make your bed. Leave the towel on the floor. Tell your wife that you're just doing an experiment. Leave the towel on the floor. Don't make the bed. Leave the things here and there. Do it for 2 days, and you will see that the dirt has actually piled up. Reverse that for 1 week, or 3-4 days. Clean your room and see that everybody who is passing by through your room, if it's a good family or a big family, it will be empty. The same way you can do it with your desk. Leave your desk dirty for a day, and you see the people who are coming and giving you file or the work or the paperwork will do the same thing. Next time, next week, make your desk clean, spanking clean, sorted, set in order, labeled and everything. People will be afraid to even place a file without asking you, because they've seen your effort, they've felt your effort, and they will respect it. So that's the beauty about 5S. If you have the discipline, if you have the mindset, if you have the culture, people will respect it, which means shining is not only about housekeeping, shining is about discipline. So if I may take liberty and show you one more example, Kalpesh, as you can see the machine right here, before shining, the machine looked like this. I'm sure we all can relate to this machine if you're into manufacturing. Now in this machine, if there's any leakage, nothing can be seen. But just see the below photograph, and if that machine would have any leakages, you can spot on, and that way you will improve your productivity, you will reduce breakdowns, you will have a proper maintenance, and people will respect the workstation. Over to you, Kalpesh.
Yeah. No, I think that's a beautiful example, Sagar. And one more thing which I relate to shine is also not only about polishing or shining that, but also the workability part. So I'm relating this part to workability, and and I'm happy I'm relating this back to an example. Sagar is so there's an obsession about me, okay, and I like to share. I'm very fond of stationery,
Mm-hmm.
pens, pencils, sharpeners, erasers. And every time when I sit, I want to have a pen stand which has everything that works. So if I'm reading a book, I want a highlighter. If I'm underlining something, I want a pencil. And stand.
Yeah, I think we are losing Kalpesh. Kalpesh, are you there? Okay, so while Kalpesh comes back on track, I think he was talking about a stationary set that he's, really fascinating about. Kalpesh, are you there? Are you back? Hello, Kalpesh.
Shilakon is more.
Yeah, so let Kalpesh get back to us, and in the meantime, let me talk about the shine part and take it forward. So over to you, Kalpesh. You were giving an example of the stationary box that you have. Yeah.
Yes. So what I was sharing was no Sagar that so in that now what I've done is if I'm actually show that to you. So this is a pen stand with pen, pencil, highlighter, eraser, everything. But you
Yep.
pick up anything from this and it will be working. That's my guarantee.
Wow. Okay.
And that is because I like the whole thing that when I'm in my thoughts, I don't, and if I want to highlight something or I want to write something, the the time it will take for me to get up and sharpen a pencil at that time or find a right highlighter will lose my thought process. And to ensure that that sanctity is maintained is where I ensure the shine aspect of what you just mentioned. So so knowingly or unknowingly, I think that's a beautiful example I can relate to as shine from the examples you're sharing.
So, Kalpesh, taking the liberty and just telling you that yes, while you have a box where everything that you have placed is working and everything is spanking clean, but at the same time, my dear sir, there is a element of 5S which is missing because you have everything in one box, which means let's say if you're going to find a highlighter, I saw the box and the highlighter is short in height and the pens are at the front, you will
Okay.
have to struggle to take the highlighter out. So
Right.
if I may suggest you something, that while you can have the same box, why don't you have a box which is 1, 2, and 3 layer, which is available on Amazon. That way what happens is you will have pens in the front, you will have pencil in the middle, and you will have the highlighters on the top, which means yes, everything will be working, but it is separated, it is sorted, and even with closed eyes, you will reach to level 1, 2, and 3. So
Got
That's
it.
just a simple observation that you can have it. And while we have two comments that Santosh talks about his mom, wife, and sister cleans the kitchen, again, it's related to, shine part. And I always say it very proudly. And to all the person who are listening outside, our mothers, wife, sisters are the masters of 5S. Just observe them, the way they maintain the kitchen, and you will not need any consultant to teach you 5S if you learn it from them. Be it masala dabba, be it the kitchen, be it the stove cleaning, be it maintenance of the minimum stock level in their, in their layers, to a level I have seen my wife Mansi stickering the instruments, or not the instruments, but the jars where she has got the beans, the coconut, or the jaggery, sugar, tea, and that's brilliant. Another example given by Anil: every time we go in a temple, we wash our hands, we clean ourselves. Now that's a mindset, exactly, Anil ji. But sorry to say it here, which temple have you seen the chapels are organized by the devotees who go? They just leave it on random and just go inside. They don't follow the system. But one thing that I've observed in gurudwaras, and especially in the places where they will have a place where people are actually collecting and putting it in the rack and giving you the number, that's where systems are maintained. Which again drives me to a point that doing a system, following a system is easy, but maintaining it requires a mindset and the culture. Unless until you don't have the right mindset and the culture, it will not show up. Denny, yes, you have to go to the bed. You can watch it in the recorded one, and we will get back to you. Yeah, over to you, Kalpesh.
Right. No, I think Sagar well said. With the three elements that we just spoke about. So the sorting, then the set in order, and then the shine. And
Yep, yep.
there is. So I want to urge one thing to the audience. Whoever is listening to right now, or who will listen to that later on, is that share your pictures of things that you pick up out of our discussion right now, and maybe send those pictures to me and Sagar. We'll be happy to see the before and after of how you're doing the sorting, and I will pick that up, Sagar, on things that you just told me about the pen stand and about different elements, and I'll share those pics to you with regards to how am I making the decision. So, Sagar, the thought which I have is, so we have two more S to cover, and and we are on the 52nd minute. So I'll request you to take us through the other two S which are remaining, the fourth and the fifth one. And of
Bang
course, if
on.
the audience wants more from us, we will probably look at squeezing some more time next week and get into a little more details of that in the coming week. But over to you for
Absolutely, Kalpesh.
the next two.
Yeah, the first three S will take the most of the time, even when you're implementing and even when you're explaining. So that's exactly what we have done. We have invested more time in explaining the first three ones. The next two are not going to take so much time, because if you have mastered the skills of first three, then it's only about the mindset and the culture and the discipline. So taking to the next level of standardizing things. Very simple thing is, all you need to do is create SOPs, have regular audits, and have weekly meetings. Identify champions in your teams who will be the 5S champions. And those champions will not only help the organizations to maintain that thing, but will also boost the teams, and have competitions, gamify them. So once you have that, all you need to do is standardize by giving them an SOP, gamify that, raise concerns, raise issues, highlight if you need any infrastructure changes, or any other requirements in terms of other things, and use photographs. The before and after is always important. Once you have done one, two, three S, standardize them, have a before and after photograph, because that after photograph will become a case study and will always remind you that this is what I did. And you know what, Kalpesh, it brings me to a thing, that this is what happens if you don't standardize. The drawer on the top is brilliant 5S done in the first week of implementation, because it's Josh, the excitement is like, let's do it. And after a month, back to square one. So This is what happens to most of the people. They will take a lot of time cutting out and doing all those pens and everything. Instead of that, I'm saying a very simple thing. You don't need to go to this level. Have bins, have boxes, and place them into the boxes. I will share a photograph of my 5s which I've done. I've just taken boxes and sorted the boxes out, even in the medical drawer, and I've just named them, that this is a box of medicines, this is a box of this is a box of cotton and other stuff, and it's easy for me to maintain them. When you make it so difficult, it's a human nature, the human tendency to fail, as we call the entropy. The world is going through the second law of thermodynamics. Everything is changing. It's changing from good to bad, from clean to dirty. Every time we are evolving, we are changing, and you have to sustain. And for that, you have to gamify. You have to simplify the process. Making it simple will ensure that people love doing it. So then I'll show you an example, which is, one more example which can highlight about what can be good or what can be bad in a way. So this is one example which I will share. At the same time, now I will jump to a point which is called sustain, owing to the time limitations. Sustaining is basically done by setting up systems of audit, by setting up systems of pictures, photographs, and the audit of 5S are very simple. All you have to do is every time you take a photograph and give it to the person who is in charge of the area, put it in their KRS, put it in their KPIs, and designate that area to them, and that will ensure that you have sustained it. Sorry. At the same time, have a schedule for the audits. Identify when you want to do the audit, who will do the audit, how are they certified to do the audit, train the people, and I'm guaranteeing that you will sustain it in a very nice way. And once you have sustained that, it'll become very easy. This is how an example of an office table would look before and after, or the tool room that is right there on my screen. It will be very, very vigilant for you to see how important it is. Now, can you see one more example, Kalpesh? Before and after, right?
I can
So,
clearly see that. Yes.
this is what you need to have: newsletters, audits, pocket diary, training, audits. All that is required to have sustainability, and nothing more than that. And if this is, it appears simple, but it's not that simple because it requires discipline. Now, see a very simple thing. Now, this guy before showed that yes, he has done 5S, and everything was arranged. But it is not 5S. If you can see, it is still cluttered. It's just organized, but it's still cluttered. It's not set in order, and that's what people miss. Now, one more example, which all of us invariably follow, is the medicine box. We have 7 days, 7 medicines, and it's all set in order, which means we know 5S, we do 5S, but we don't do it religiously for all the places. And that's exactly what I'm saying. Now, this is very, very bad 5S, Kalpesh. This is hilarious because they put sellotapes everywhere on the desk. I mean, do you need to copy the shop floor on the desk? Of course not. Of course not. So from my side, Kalpesh, this is about 5S, and well within the time of 1 hour, we have detailedly covered everything for everyone to implement it in their daily routine. Over to you.
Great. I think Sagar, this is so 5S. I'll tell you what I'm actually relating to. Okay, so as a leadership coach and as a leadership facilitator, I'm actually looking at how can I help using a 5S for a person to sort out his own mind.
Uh-huh.
You actually
Okay.
mentioned about the thought sorting, right? So, what are the thoughts or what are the tasks that I have in my mind? What are the things that are taking away my energy or draining my energy?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Can I actually sort them in order of priority that I have? Can I actually
Okay.
look there, put them in an order saying, okay, I need to do this and then this, and create a calendar or a mental frame of mind? Can I get my expertise into the areas that I need to deal with, which is I'm relating to the shine?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then how do I standardize it, so that how do I put that into my practice and as a discipline, so that I start building my efficiency levels there? And then how do I actually sustain that so that I don't get into that same pitfall again and again?
Yep. Yep. Yep.
I think that's a wonderful explanation, and I think it's just, what I'm getting present to is that the only thing that can limit you is your imagination of where you can actually implement 5S.
So, do you know, Kalpesh, where all this is leading to? The last S. Any idea?
No.
It's leading all of us to creating accountability, right?
Yes. Yes.
So that's the topic we will be touching on 10th of September, creating accountability. Because without being accountable, everything is hunky dory. It's fun. But when you're accountable, you become responsible.
Wonderful. Yeah, I think that's wonderful, and it'll be good to explore accountability. And I think how these simple things can actually be a transformation in itself. I'd like to go back to this Chinese proverb on a closing note, Sagar. It always said that it will be difficult for you to change 1,000% in one thing,
Mhm, mhm.
but you can actually change 1% in 1,000 things,
Brilliant. Yep,
and
yep,
that
yep.
causes
Makes
the
sense.
So changing
Yeah,
that 1% into every aspect of life that is around you can actually start making the difference and transformation in your life.
absolutely. Well
So
said,
I think
Kalpesh.
great. Thank you, Sagar. Thank you, all the audience, lovely audience who have been with us, week on week, and encouraging us to share this with everyone. We are available on LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out. Sagar's email address is also mentioned. And remember the task. Click the areas that you pick on as a challenge, where you're going to look at implementing 5S. Share those images with us, and then share the before and after part of it. We would love to acknowledge you during our sessions, and let's create and have this journey together. So let's look at continuing the building productivity mindset journey. Uh, Kudos. Thank you so much, Sagar. Thank you so much. Stay safe, stay connected, stay healthy.
Thank you, everyone, and looking forward to get connected on 10th September. Be
Yeah.
accountable, be there.
Ciao. Thank you so much. Take care.